Hey, hey, happy Friday and happy Digest Day. I had so much fun putting these digests together last season that I'm doing it again because it's such a nice chance for me to look around and look at what's inspiring me and then share that with you. So if you have enjoyed these, tune in on Fridays for short and sweet digests, particularly this season, looking for inspiration on people who've changed, who've made pivots, who have had big decisions thrust upon them or have chosen themselves to switch it up and do something different. Hoping you'll follow along and be inspired as well every Friday. Hey, hey, happy Friday. I said that these digests were going to be weekly, short and sweet little updates on what is inspiring me in order to hopefully pass on some inspiration to you. And I just have to say that women are inspiring me. I mean, this is a podcast about women. Is that surprising? No. But I am just so encouraged by how many different collections of women I belong to that are very different and yet all working toward the greater good, working for a better country, working for a better city, working for a better community, trying to keep us sane. And I am just so inspired by all the women who are building community and stepping up and doing the work. I usually don't like to give spoiler alerts, but last week, I interviewed Lisa Williams and her sister Cheryl Jewick of the Persisters, and that episode will be coming out in a week or two. And I'm just so inspired by this story of how this group began around a dining room table because Lisa was just feeling so, as we all are right now, this was back in 2017 in the first Trump administration, but just so utterly discouraged, disgusted, and angry, and all the things, and just started around her dining room table. And I feel like so many groups are popping up like this. I am watching so many new friendships formed over women's groups, some online, some in person. A few Fridays ago, if you are a regular listener, you heard Shelley invite anyone and everyone to her Tuesday morning meditation. That is going. She is starting up a new session. I am there every Tuesday morning. And it's such a beautiful gift for 45 minutes just to offer some loving kindness to ourselves and to each other and to strangers, right? And that's what loving kindness meditation is, if you've ever done one of those. And if you haven't, come check it out. You can find more information on Shelley's Substack, shelleyroeder.substack.com. I'll put that link in the show notes. And it just really feels like there are so many other groups who are just putting the call out there for community and action. And I don't know what to do, but I need to do something. So let's meet and talk about it and share information on things that we can be doing. And you know, I just want to give a shout out to the simple voice memo. I don't know if any listeners are enjoying these as much as I am, but I have a group of friends for whom we are reconnecting in ways we haven't done in over a decade through voice memo. I don't always have the time, right, for a long, hour-long conversation that it might take to catch up, but we have started just leaving each other voice memos, and I'm doing this with a group of friends who I met in my 30s, and we sort of disconnected in our 40s and are coming back together, and it's so fun. It is so joyful to hear their voices again, to be in connection and in community with them. And I have another friend who we just go back and forth on updates and encouraging each other and sharing our wins, which just feels so good. So if you haven't done this, I would challenge you to find a friend and start a voice memo tag with them. It has the same, dopamine hit of getting a handwritten letter in the mail because it's just so personal in a way that a text message just isn't. If you try it, let me know. I'd love to know if it works for you too, if you're loving it as much as I am. Another thing that brought me inspiration this week is something that former guest Cheryl Kniesel posted. And if you don't follow Cheryl or her beautiful illustrations on Meaningful Marks, what are you waiting for? Find her on Instagram, because she is constantly posting her own work, which is, of course, thoughtful and always seems to give me just the right dose of medicine or whatever it is I need when I read it. So thank you, Cheryl. And she reposts a lot of really thoughtful posts as well. And one of them was a post by a gentleman named Xavier Dagba, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And he says, one of the most subtle forms of self-sabotage is downplaying your gifts or taking them for granted just because they feel natural or come easy to you. And I've been thinking about that a lot, and thinking about that in the context of all these women that I have been talking to or been in community with or in circles with. And it feels like this is a moment where we are all asking ourselves, what is it that I can do? Because this all feels so overwhelming, but I want to do something. And this came up again in the conversation with Lisa and Cheryl of the Persisters in talking about how there are lanes for everyone. There is something to do for every one of us, no matter what your talent is or skills or gifts. And I just thought this post, when Cheryl posted it, was so thought-provoking because it made me think, what could I do that comes easy to me? Why does this have to be hard, right? What am I good at that I can offer in this moment? And I was just really grateful for that perspective, because I don't think we often think about that. We think about, of course, what is needed, or we think about what the dreaded S word, what we should do. And perhaps there are things that, yes, we should be doing, but also what could I do? What could I offer? Because it is a skill of mine that is no problem, that I don't even think of as a skill because it is just what I do. And so I would just put that out there as a challenge this week to consider, what is it that you are gifted with? And here, brag on yourself. Are you good at public speaking? Are you good at writing? Are you good at baking? Are you good at gathering people? Are you good at connecting people? Are you good at listening? Are you good at showing up and just being quiet but being there? What is it that you're good at? Because we all have gifts that we can bring in this moment. And so I'm thinking about that idea of doing things because they feel natural or because they come easy to us. And you'll hear this in much more detail when our interview airs, but I'm thinking about what Cheryl Jewick said of the Persisters, in that a challenge to us, in that our freedom is not free and that we have work to do, and are we doing enough? If you're making 5 calls and that's easy for you, is that enough? Is there more that we need to be doing? So it's a little bit of a double-edged question this week. How can I do and offer and bring what comes easy, and is that enough? All right, I'm going to leave us with a poem that I heard in yet another group that I was gathered in. And this one is led by the poet Rosemary Watola Traumer and her partner in crime, or I should say her secret agent, Sherry Richard Ballul. And they have a group where they call it the Secret Agents of Change. Anyone is welcome. But they have a Zoom call where Rosemary reads a poem, and then they share a secret agent kindness mission. And everyone who's on the Zoom call is then expected to go out and give this, whatever the challenge is, right? Whatever the mission. And much of the Zoom call is spent sharing ideas of how people could put this into practice. And it's a different mission each time. But the key thing is it has to be done in secret. So there's no expectation of give and take. It's just give. And it's such a fun hour. And they do them every so often, and I think you can find out about it on Rosemary's website. But the poem that she read at the beginning of this week's Secret Mission was just beautiful, and so I just thought I would leave us with it here. It's called What I Didn't Know. by Rosemary Watola Traumer. At last, I'm learning it's okay to be scared to the marrow and still show up wholehearted. No shame it took so long to learn this truth, just giddy relief to finally trust that I can be clenched like a hedgehog or poised as a snake and still be open to finding love at the center of what scares me. And when I find no sprig of love there, that is the chance to offer love to the world any way I know how, with a gift, with my time, with words, with touch, or with a simple act of kindness. And if I find I have no love to muster, then that is the chance to plant seeds of love in whatever soil I find and amend the ground and bring light, bring water. And this is what I'm seeing. So many women scared to the marrow and still showing up wholehearted. So that is and will continue to be our challenge as we move forward in these weeks. And the last thing I will say is that I am up early every morning, usually about 5:30. I'm sitting in my favorite chair in the pitch black, usually reading Heather Cox Richardson, which perhaps I should switch the order up of my morning and do meditations first or do something calming first. But I heard for the first time this week the birds. Bird song. Spring is coming. Longer days are coming. And to me, that feels like inspiration. All right. I will be back next week with another incredible woman living her dream in the Cream City. Until then, Milwaukee, keep on dreaming.